Y'all ever watch somebody declare peace while standing in the middle of a war? Because that's what just happened. Chrisean Rock went live, announced the beef with Blueface is dead, and then spent 40 minutes swinging on everybody except him. The haters, the chat, the women, the conspiracy theorists. Everybody caught it except the one person the beef was supposedly with. And somewhere in the middle of all that, she casually told the internet how much money 2 days of chaos is worth. Nobody flinched. I did. Rewind it with me. Now real quick, before I show you the part where she contradicts herself inside the same breath. If this is the kind of breakdown you come here for, you already know the drill. Like it. Subscribe to Fame Cryptix. Tap the bell so the next one finds you first. We don't do reruns of everybody else's takes. Okay, let's go. So here's the skeleton. Mid-August 2026, Chrisean Rock fires up a Kick livestream. Part airport, part Blueface stream. All chaos. Fresh off a weekend where she was filmed in a street fight while her ex stood nearby watching. A clip that Complex confirms took over social media within hours. On that stream, she touches everything. The fight, Ronny Doe, the other women, her son, God, and money. What she said wasn't the story, though. The order she said it in. That's the story. Watch how it unfolds. Now, before we get to the tape, you need to understand what 40 minutes means in this economy. A celebrity stream isn't a conversation, it's inventory. Every minute live is a minute the clip channels can slice, the blogs can headline, and the reaction pages can monetize. 40 minutes of Chrisean Rock unfiltered is, functionally, a content harvest. And here's the thing nobody clocked in real time. She knows that. She has known that for years. So when I say the order she said it in is the story, I don't mean she gave a speech with a hidden structure. I mean a woman who has lived inside an engagement machine for half a decade, just sat down and narrated the machine's quarterly earnings report out loud, dressed up as a beef funeral. And the setting matters. This wasn't an Instagram story posted at 3 a.m. and deleted by breakfast. This was a scheduled, sustained, subscribe-gated live stream on a platform that pays creators directly for exactly the kind of friction she generates. Keep that frame bolted to the wall, because everything you're about to hear hangs on it. Start with the declaration that got clipped the most. Speaking straight to her chat, Chrisean put it plain. I'm not beefing with him no more. The beef up. The beef over with. Direct quote. Her words. Her stream. August 2026. Cool. Peace treaty signed. Except, and I need you to hold this thought, she delivered that ceasefire while sitting inside Blueface stream audience, running his chat like a co-host. That's not how wars end. That's how seasons get renewed. And I want to be fair here, because the peace framing has a real constituency. She said versions of this before: growth, maturity, co-parenting energy. There's a version of this stream where that's genuinely what it is. But treaties have terms, and the terms of this one were strange. Because within the same broadcast where she declared the beef dead, she also claimed jurisdiction over it. Who can beef with him? Who can't? What the rules of engagement are now. That's not surrender. That's annexation. You don't negotiate the borders of a country you're evacuating. There's also a historical echo here that the timeline forgot to bring up. This is not the first ceasefire. Not the second. Complex's relationship timeline reads like a ceasefire museum. Peace declared in interviews, on Instagram lives, on podcasts, in captions, and every single one of those armistices had an expiration date measured in weeks. So when she says the beef up, the correct follow-up question isn't is it true? It's what's the shelf life on this batch? Then she got to the fight itself, the street footage, her explanation verbatim. Somebody walked up on me. Start throwing punches. I'm not F to get beat up. What? Beware of the dog. And then, almost as a throwaway, I got to fight September 19th. Wait, hold on. She has a sanctioned fight on the calendar, a training camp, and she's scrapping in the street weeks out? Fighters get pulled from cards for less. But okay, keep that date in your pocket. It matters later. Actually, let's sit on the fight quote a second longer, because the phrasing is doing work. Somebody walked up on me. Passive, reactive, self-defense framing. Beware of the dog. The same sentence, flipped to threat. That's the whole Chrisean persona, in one breath. I am the victim of aggression, and also, I am the aggression. Both postures available simultaneously, deployed depending on which part of the audience she's talking to. And here's the part the fight discourse skipped. This isn't even her first rodeo with public altercations on camera. Per reporting across multiple outlets going back years, physical confrontations have been a recurring chapter of this saga. Televised, streamed, clipped, monetized. Which means the street fight wasn't an aberration from the brand. It was brand continuity. Now, the street fight also has a second participant who got memory hold almost immediately. The other woman in the footage. Hot New Hip Hop reported she posted her own video afterward. Her own side. Her own angle. We'll get to the media framing of that later, but file this away. In the Chrisean ecosystem, even the opponent in a street fight gets a content cycle. Everybody adjacent to the blast radius gets a camera next. Next, the heaviest moment of the entire stream. The chat accused her outright of being involved in the death of her ex, Karen Can, known as Ronny Doe, who was killed back in February 2025. Her response, exact words, "Chad, quit the conspiracy stuff, bro. I would have been locked up already if I killed that man." And for the record, this matches what she told Complex earlier, that police allegedly told her she was not a suspect. Yahoo's entertainment desk ran the denial too. That's a woman answering a murder rumor on a gaming platform between gift notifications. I don't even have a joke. That's just where we are now. And I want to slow down here, deliberately, because this is the moment where the whole video could go wrong if I handle it carelessly. So let me be precise. A man lost his life. Karen Can was a real person with a real family. And nothing about this breakdown treats that as content. The question under examination is not, did she do something? There's no public evidence of that. She has denied it on the record. And per her own account, reported by both Complex and Yahoo, police allegedly told her she was not a suspect. Full stop. The question under examination is what it means that a rumor this dark has become standard issue chat spam, that a community of viewers shows up to a stream, on repeat, to accuse a woman of murder like they're asking about her favorite color. Because that didn't happen by accident. Conspiracy chatter follows engagement gravity, where the audience is biggest and least moderated. The darkest theories get the most oxygen. Kick's chat culture is looser than Twitch's by design. That's the platform's pitch. And the looser room means the worst questions get asked live, on camera, where the answer itself becomes the clip. Her denial is now a content asset. Think about how bleak that sentence is. A woman's on-the-record denial of involvement in a death is, in 2026 economics, a highlight. That's not a Chrisean problem. That's an everybody problem wearing a Chrisean costume. Then the one that made the blog sprint. On the Jay-Z and Beyonce comparison she made days prior, the clip the Shade Room captured blowing up, she doubled down. I said what I said, babes, numbers don't lie. Just look at the numbers, babes. Numbers. From Chrisean. About Jay-Z. Okay, but hold on, before you join the roast. What numbers is she actually talking about? Because she's not talking about chart positions. She's not talking about net worth. She's talking about the only scoreboard she competes on. Attention velocity. How fast a clip moves. How hard a headline lands. How many blogs sprint to the post button. And here's the uncomfortable part. On that scoreboard, in her weight class, the comparison isn't insane. It's just category confused. Jay-Z and Beyonce generate coverage. Chrisean generates demand for coverage. The blogs don't cover her because they're assigned to. They cover her because the traffic numbers punish them when they don't. The Shade Room didn't post that clip as charity. They posted it because the comment section was already on fire before the caption was written. She misread the room when she said it, sure. But the room then proceeded to prove her underlying point for free, at scale, laughing the whole way up. And the Whitney Houston bit. The chat keeps calling her Whitney, which is not a compliment, and she said, Whitney hard, bro. She's a legend. She wasn't ashamed of who she loved. She genuinely took it as praise. The insult flew clean over her head, and she caught it like a bouquet. Now, there's two ways to play that moment. The internet played it one way, the laugh. And look, I get it. The gap between intent and reception is comedy physics. But I want to note the other read, because it's the one that stuck with me. Strip the nickname's baggage out of it and listen to what she actually said. She wasn't ashamed of who she loved. That's not a punchline. That's a thesis about herself. She hears Whitney, and the part that reaches her isn't the cruelty, it's the loyalty. She has built an entire public identity around loving somebody the whole world told her to stop loving. And in her head, that makes her the legend. You can clock the delusion in that, but clock the coherence too. It's not confusion. It's a worldview with its own internal logic. The insult didn't miss her. She intercepted it and rerouted it into her mythology in real time. That's a skill. An unsettling one, but a skill. Finally, the money. The part everyone clipped but nobody sat with. You know how much money he just made? He made $100K. I made like 60. But that was just from 2 days of hanging out with him. Read that again. Slowly. We'll come back to it. Trust. Alright. Now let's lay the pieces flat and look at them the way nobody on the timeline bothered to. Rewind to earlier this summer. Blueface is publicly linked with Nevaeh Akira, and per WDKX's reporting, Nevaeh reportedly went into labor while Blueface was live streaming himself dropping Chrisean off at the airport. Sit with that sentence. A man's girlfriend is in labor and he's doing airport runs for his ex. On stream. That wasn't behind anybody's back. It was broadcast. And let's be real about what that moment required. That's not a lapse in judgment. That's a scheduling decision. Labor is not a surprise event with a 2-minute window. Somewhere between girlfriend and labor, and camera rolling at the departure terminal, there were choices. Plural, sequential, deliberate. And the choice that got made, at every fork, was the stream. Because here's the mechanic underneath. Blueface's entire post-music revenue model runs on exactly this kind of image. The man whose label career stalled years ago, as industry coverage has documented, didn't lose relevance. He relocated it. The spectacle isn't the side effect of his personal life anymore. The personal life is the raw material, and the spectacle is the refinery. An airport drop-off during his girlfriend's labor isn't him being careless, with the cameras on. It's the cameras being the point. And for Nevaeh Akira, that moment is a preview of a lesson every woman in this orbit eventually learns in public. Proximity to Blueface doesn't put you at the center of the story. It puts you in a scene of the story. And the story belongs to the loop, not to whoever's currently standing next to him. Jaden Alexis lived that chapter. Carlisa, his own mother, has narrated versions of it on social media for years, as longtime followers of this saga know well. The cast rotates. The loop doesn't. Fast forward a few weeks. The street fight footage drops. Chrisean swinging in the road. Blueface standing close enough to be scenery, per the Complex report. Then, within days, the joint streams. The banter. The beef is over. And here's the part that made me stop the tape. Actually, hold on, back up, because this part right here is the part. According to the chat's own timeline on the stream, days before this love fest, she was allegedly calling this man a serial killer, and he was allegedly asking her how many bodies she has. Days. Not months. Days. Now, I need to be careful with that detail, so let me frame it exactly as it deserves to be framed. That exchange lives in chat memory and clip circulation. It's the community's own account of what was said, not a sworn statement. But even taken as folklore, it's instructive folklore. Because whether or not those exact words were exchanged, the shape of the escalation is consistent with everything else we can verify. Maximum hostility followed by maximum intimacy on a turnaround measured in hours. Serial killer jokes on Tuesday, co-hosting his stream by the weekend. And the audience doesn't experience whiplash anymore. They experience schedule. That's how many times this has happened. Now overlay the calendar. She's got fight camp. I work out 5 days out of the week. Training in Baltimore, a September 19th date. He lives in LA. They're in different cities, different lives. And yet the weekend they're together, engagement explodes, and by her own admission that weekend generated roughly $160,000 between the two of them. So the sequence reads, public chaos, viral clip, reunion streams, 6 figures. That order is repeated across their whole saga. Complex's relationship timeline documents this same loop going back years. Rupture, spectacle, reunion, monetize. I'm not saying it's choreographed. I'm saying the loop has never once lost money. And let me expand that loop backward, because the pattern recognition only lands if you see how deep the grooves go. Go back to the Zeus Network era, Crazy in Love. the reality show built directly on top of their dysfunction, which ran on the exact same engine. Conflict, reconciliation ratings. Go back further, to the Blue Girls Club era, where the entire premise, documented and reported widely at the time, was manufactured proximity and manufactured conflict for content. The platform changed. The payout rail changed. The loop is identical. What 2026 added isn't a new behavior. It's a new distribution model. Zeus took a cut. Kick doesn't need a network executive in the room. They fired the middleman and kept the madness. That's the whole evolution in one sentence. Same show, no studio. And the timing precision deserves its own paragraph. Fight Camp in Baltimore, September 19th on the calendar. And the reunion content drops now, in the exact window where a celebrity fight needs its promotion engine warming up. Combat sports, even the celebrity tier, sells on narrative heat. Nobody buys a pay-per-view for a calm person in a quiet life, whether by design or by instinct. And honestly, with these two, instinct might be scarier. The beef is over content wave is cresting at precisely the moment a fighter's name needs to be in the blogs. Coincidence is possible. Coincidence, repeated on schedule, for years, across platforms, is a business model. One more thread the timeline exposes, the gatekeeping decree. Just 'cause I beef with him, that don't mean y'all get to beef with him. She told her own fan base to stand down. Only she has beef privileges now. That's not romance language. That's territory language. You don't fence off something you're done with. Now we zoom. 3 fragments. Small ones. Because the small ones are where people tell the truth. The slip about Ronny. When the chat pressed the baby father question, she said, "If that was really my baby father, bro, y'all wouldn't know that." Read that clause twice. She didn't just deny the paternity rumor. She implied the real answer is something the public doesn't have. That's a door she opened herself, on her own stream, unprompted. I had to rewind it 3 times. If it's nobody's business, it's the only topic she kept returning to voluntarily. And here's why that sentence is load-bearing. Watch what it does to the timeline. Chrisean Jr. was born in September 2023, a birth she famously live-streamed, covered extensively at the time. And the paternity discourse around Blueface has been a public saga of its own. Claims, counterclaims, tests discussed on camera, reconciliations announced on camera. Now, on this stream, the Ronny Doe question surfaces and her answer isn't no. Her answer is, y'all wouldn't know. In narrative terms, that's not a denial, that's a cliffhanger. Whether she meant it or not, that sentence manufactures a Season 2 mystery out of a Season 1 question. And this is the forensic point. People who want a topic dead kill it with specificity. No, and here's the answer, closes doors. Y'all wouldn't know that props the door open and puts a velvet rope in front of it. She has been in front of cameras long enough to know exactly what an open door is worth. A closed topic generates 0 clips. An open one generates months. The holy hands toggle. Watch the behavioral pattern across the stream. Mid-rant, she demands prayer hand emojis. Then blue hearts. Then, and this is real, put the white church emojis in the chat. 90 seconds later, she's telling grown women they're broke and need to get their money up. The worship frame and the war frame aren't separate personas. They're toggled like filters in real time, depending on which one the comment section is responding to. Her own chat noticed. They flooded the hands on command. That's not spirituality being mocked. That's engagement being farmed. And the audience knows the difference even when they play along. And zoom in on the mechanism of that toggle, because it's more sophisticated than it looks. Emoji commands are a streamer's retention tool. They convert passive viewers into active participants, and active participants are what platform algorithms measure. Every time she calls for prayer hands, she's not just performing faith. She's running an engagement spike on command, and the chat executes it like a drill. That's a trained room. And the pivot, worship to warfare in 90 seconds, isn't mood swings, or at least not only mood swings. It's A/B testing live. Which frame keeps the chat moving? Faith. Deploy it. Conflict. Deploy that. The content follows the comment velocity. I've watched a lot of streamers work a room, and most of them plan this in a notes app. She does it mid-sentence, by feel. Call it chaos if you want. It's chaos with a feedback loop. The number that explained everything. He made 100K. I made like 60. Most coverage treated that as a flex. It's not a flex, it's a rate card. She just told you the market price of 2 days of public dysfunction. 60 grand for her, 100 for him. And then she sealed it. It's just business. You feel me? I got my own kick. He got his own kick. She said the quiet part into a live mic, and the internet kept scrolling past it to argue about Beyonce. Let me put that rate card in context, because the numbers are easy to hear and hard to feel. $60,000 for 2 days. That's more than the median American household earns in a year, earned in a weekend, earned by dysfunction. And the split matters too. He cleared almost double. That's not incidental. The man in this economy owns the venue, so to speak. His stream, his channel, his infrastructure, and per her own account, his bigger cut, which means every reunion, every peace treaty, every joint stream runs on a revenue split where the person she'd been publicly feuding with days earlier is also the person who profits most from the ceasefire. You want to know why the beef never stays dead? Follow the split. A permanent peace is a revenue event that can only happen once. A recurring war is a subscription. And notice the sentence structure she used. I got my own kick. He got his own kick. Separate accounts. She's not describing a relationship. She's describing 2 storefronts that occasionally run a joint promotion. That's the most honest sentence of the entire 40 minutes. And it blew past everybody. The media split. Now look at how differently this got framed depending on which corner of the internet you were standing in. The hip-hop blogs went spectacle first. Hot new hip-hop centered the other woman from a fight posting her own video, framing it as a continuation of the brawl, a content beef, a sideshow with sequels. Combat framing. Who won? Who responded? Who's next? Meanwhile, the Shade Room ran it as a comedy of delusion, the Jay-Z and Beyonce line, the comment section roast, reaction framing. The story there isn't what Chrisean said. It's how hard the internet laughed. And the flatter mainstream pickups, Yahoo's syndicated coverage of the fight clip, sanded everything down to viral video circulates. No context, no history, just traffic. 3 outlets, 3 different stories built from the same 40 minutes. One sells the fight, one sells the joke, one sells the click. Nobody sold the business model sitting in the middle of it. And I want to be clear about something. This isn't me dunking on the blogs, because the blogs aren't the villains of this frame. They're the symptom. Every one of those framings is a rational response to incentive. The combat framing works because fight content has a common economy. The roast framing works because mockery is the highest velocity engagement drug on social media. The flattened syndication works because wire-style celebrity coverage is a volume business and context doesn't scale. None of these outlets buried the rate card because they're stupid. They buried it because she explained her own monetization model midstream doesn't fit a headline template. The machinery of coverage is calibrated for spectacle, and anything that demystifies the spectacle gets sanded off, because a demystified audience might stop hate watching, and hate watching is the shared revenue base of everyone in this paragraph, including the people being covered. There's one more layer to the media split that deserves daylight. Who didn't get framed at all? Nevaeh Akira went into labor, per WDKX, inside a news cycle that was ostensibly about her. And yet the coverage orbit treated her labor as a setting for a Blueface Chrisean scene. Read that coverage again. She's the woman having the baby, and she's a footnote in her own headline. That's the hierarchy of this economy laid bare. The loop stars get paragraphs, and everyone orbiting the loop gets a clause. Jaden Alexis has lived inside that clause for years. Carlisa writes her own clauses in real time on social media, trying to claw narrative control back, and mostly gets quoted as color. The gravity well is 2 people deep. Everyone else is weather. Now, the counter-narrative, and I'll give it its fair shot because it's not stupid. The pushback goes. She's 26. She's a mother. She's in training camp trying to build something real, and y'all dissect every live stream like it's a deposition. Maybe the piece is just peace. Fine. Steelman accepted. She did say, I am mature. I am a grown woman. Very emotionally regulated. She said, I'm doing better, bro. And honestly, I want to believe it, but the receipts from her own mouth won't let me. Emotionally regulated people don't announce a ceasefire and then spend the next half hour policing who else is allowed to have beef. People moving on, don't quote, the revenue split from the weekend with their ex. The piece framing doesn't survive contact with the business framing, and she's the one who introduced both. And one more thing on the Steelman, because intellectual honesty cuts both ways. The strongest version of the defense isn't maybe she's healed. It's maybe the healing and the hustle coexist. She's a mother of a toddler. She's training 5 days a week for a sanctioned bout. She's also reading revenue splits off a weekend with her ex-humans, are not either slash or machines. And the internet's insistence that she must be either a reformed grown woman or a chaos merchant is its own kind of delusion. She can be doing better and doing business at the same time. In fact, that might be the most accurate read of the whole stream. Not a woman pretending to be at peace, and not a woman faking growth for the camera, but a woman whose personal growth and professional model have fused into one organism, and she genuinely can no longer tell where the healing ends and the content begins. Honestly, neither can we, and that ambiguity is worth exactly what it always was, about 160 grand a weekend. So here's what the blogs won't say, because it ruins the fun. The mainstream read is that Chrisean Rock is chaotic, impulsive, can't get out of her own way. Wild girl, wild weekend, wild quotes, haha, next clip. But flip it over. What if the chaos isn't the malfunction? What if it's the product? Look at the machinery. Every rupture with Blueface lands on camera. Every reunion lands on camera. The fight, the airport, the Labor Day drop-off, the serial killer jokes, the peace treaty. All of it streams live. All of it clips cleanly. All of it converts. She told you herself. $60,000 for 2 days of hanging out. He cleared 100. She literally read her own engagement metrics back to the chat. It's subscribe only. You had a sub to say all that. So good job. He made 100K today off of you. She's not ignoring the hate-watching economy. She's explaining it to the people funding it. And the chat still pays. That's the part that should make everybody a little uncomfortable. Let's name the mechanism properly, because hate-watching is too soft a term for what's happening. It's participatory antagonism. The chat doesn't just watch the car crash. They pay admission to yell at the driver, and the driver reads the yelling out loud, monetizes it, and thanks them for the subscription. She said it herself. You had to sub to say all that. So good job. That sentence should be studied. That's the sound of the entire attention economy's business model, said out loud by someone with no media training and perfect instincts. Your hatred is not resistance. Your hatred is revenue. Every Whitney comment, every conspiracy spam, every roast, it all clears through the same donate button. The audience thinks they're heckling. They're invoicing themselves. And here's the layer underneath that. The one that's genuinely new about this era. The old celebrity industrial complex had friction reducers everywhere. Labels, publicists, network standard departments, managers whose job was to stop the client from saying the quiet part. Blueface has whacked 100 in his corner. A manager who, per years of public interviews and coverage, understands spectacle economics better than most label executives. And even that layer couldn't suppress what's happening now. Because the new model doesn't need suppressing. There's no album rollout to protect. No brand deal to safeguard. No network to appease. The scandal is the rollout. The brand deal is the scandal. When the product is attention itself, there is no such thing as off-message. There's only off-camera. Now for the opposition. And I brought jabs for every camp. To the she's a victim of the machine camp. She owns stock in the machine. Save some of that sympathy. To the Blueface is the puppet master camp. She made 60 racks in 48 hours and said it's just business. Puppets don't invoice. To the she needs to find God commenters. She found him. He moderates her chat now. Apparently. Prayer hands on command. To the leave her alone. She's healing crowd. And I say this with almost genuine softness. Healing is free. Whatever this is costs $60,000 a weekend and pays it back. To the blogs writing bigger than Jay-Z and Beyonce. Headlines like she's delusional. On the only chart she cares about. Attention per dollar. She's not even wrong. And you proved it by writing the headline. And to everyone who keeps asking, why is she famous? She just answered you. Loud. On stream. You were in the chat gifting subs while you asked it. Now, one camp I haven't jabbed yet, because they deserve a paragraph instead of a line. The it's all fake, it's all scripted crowd. I hear you, and you're half right. The distribution is engineered, the platforms, the clip economy, the timing, the rate card. But the content? I don't think two people script a street fight weeks before a sanctioned bout. I don't think a woman scripts an answer to a murder rumor between gift notifications. The truth is stranger and more efficient than the conspiracy version. They don't need a script. The incentives do the writing. Put two people with this history on a platform that pays per unit of friction, and the episodes produce themselves. The loop isn't choreographed. It's farmed. There's a difference, and the difference is the whole story. A farm doesn't need anyone to believe in it. It just needs the conditions to hold. And the conditions are holding. The blueprint here isn't new. The full timeline reads like a reality show that never got canceled because it moved to a platform with no executives, no network, no standards department, just two people, a donate button, and an audience that cannot look away. Chaos, Incorporated. And business is good. So where does this go? 3 paths. No labels. You'll feel them. Watch how the piece holds for exactly as long as the numbers hold. The next few weeks are the test. She's in camp for September 19th. He's in LA. And distance has never been good for their engagement metrics. Expect a rupture right on schedule. A subliminal. A live stream tear-up. Another woman, something. Because the algorithm feeds on friction, and both of them know their rate card now. Don't be shocked when the reunion lands within days of the fight camp needing promotion. The failure that sinks the other women in this orbit, Nevaeh included, is believing proximity equals position. It doesn't. The audience is the position. Then there's the table flip path, the fight itself. Once September 19th hits, if she actually shows up in shape and performs, the entire narrative inverts overnight. From street brawler to legit celebrity boxer with the redemption arc. That's a real door. Boxing has laundered messier reputations than hers. The opposition that loses in that world is everybody who bet the brand was only chaos, because a win gives her a second product line that doesn't require Blueface at all. And that might be the one thing genuinely dangerous to him. A Chrisean who doesn't need the loop. And let's be honest about the asymmetry in that path, because it's the most interesting tension on the whole board. Her upside in the ring is independence. His upside in the loop is dependence, hers specifically. The math only works while the reunion content requires both parties. Every fight camp week she completes, every training clip that moves without his name attached, is a small transfer of gravity from the duo brand to the solo brand. That's why the September 19th date is the axis of everything. It's the first revenue event in her career that structurally doesn't need him. Win or lose, actually. Even a loss in the ring, handled with the same real-time transparency she's built everything on, is a solo storyline. Comeback content, redemption content, all on her own kick, her own rate card, her own split. Keep 100% of 60. That's the door he's watching, whether he says so or not. And the 5-year residue. By then expect this whole era to be studied, not just remembered. They are writing, in real time, unintentionally, the playbook for post-label celebrity. No album required, no network required, just a conflict cycle and a tip jar. The industry residue is a generation of streamer couples running this exact loop, pointing back at 2026 as proof of concept. Somebody's kid is going to write a media studies thesis on that. He made 100K. I made 60 clip. I'm only half joking. And when that thesis gets written, the footnote that'll get the least attention and deserve the most is this one. The audience was never deceived. Every phase of this was broadcast. The rate card was read aloud. The mechanics were explained to the people funding them, by the person funding herself with them, on a subscribe-gated stream, in plain language. The final evolution of celebrity isn't a star who hides the machine. It's a star who shows you the machine, itemizes the machine, thanks you for your contribution to the machine, and the line to feed the machine gets longer. That's not cynicism. That's just what 40 minutes on a kick stream in August 2026 documented. In her own words, with receipts. The beef isn't over. The beef is the business. And business just posted its best quarter yet. You saw what I saw. The timeline, the toggles, the rate card. You won't get that read anywhere else on this app. So run it back if you need to. Drop your take in the comments. Fight me on the September 19 prediction. I want all of it. And if you haven't yet, Like, subscribe to Fame Cryptix, hit the bell. Part 2 is already cooking the second that Fight Camp stream goes live. Let's go.